Hey guys, it's me again. Let's see. I have been talking about a lot of thyroid topics in the past few days, and why not stop then? I'm going to continue. So basically, yesterday talked about basically mostly Hashimoto's. Spit it out, Cindy. Today I wanted to talk about some of the medications that we can use to treat hypothyroidism along with Hashimoto's. So traditionally in the past, from my experience and some of the literature that I've read and just dealing with my own experience, medical professionals did not treat subclinical hypothyroidism. And that would be when your TSH is slightly elevated and your T4 is like borderline to low. Borderline low to low. That would actually be considered subclinical hypothyroidism. And, in the past, people just weren't treating it. But I would say now, with a lot of the research that has been out and more knowledge, and I think just people, patients becoming more knowledgeable, I think that's changing. Some of the endocrinologists and some of like the newer physicians, some of the DOs and some of the newer physicians and some of the endocrinologists are starting to treat subclinical hypothyroidism a little bit sooner. Because they're finding that it's helping patients, and it's also helping patients not actually develop into Hashimoto's. So with that being said, thyroid medication has a very narrow therapeutic index, meaning so it's dosed in micrograms. So micrograms is like 1/1000th of a milligram. So in other words, the dosing can be tricky. So it's very small. So if you get it off, you can be way off. So, that's basically why I think I've had problems with my medication over the past few years, because I feel like my weight fluctuates. I'm running or I'm not running, or I'm weight training or I'm not, or my diet. I recently have changed my diet, and I think that has helped me keep my thyroid levels on the more normal range for myself. So anyways, that being said, there is basically a fine line of being therapeutic. So I do think that matters, and, it can be scary. And that's why I think doctors are a little bit sometimes hesitant to treat subclinical. But I think right now they're starting to look more at the whole picture. And there's a difference between the medical model and where I come from. I'm a nurse, first and foremost. I'll always be a nurse. I still have nurse in my title. I'm a nurse practitioner. And the way we're trained, we are like mind, body, spirit. We're just not a medical model. We don't look at a problem and try to fix it or not fix it. We look at symptoms and how people are feeling. We look at their whole body. We try to look at how they feel emotionally, how it affects their way of life, their quality of life. So I just feel like there's a different take on things. And, not to say that one's better than the other, but that's where I come from, being a nurse. And I will talk about that until the day that I die, because I swear, nurses rock. And once you are a nurse, you are always a nurse. I don't care. I don't care if you're retired. I don't care if you're doing something else. I don't care if you're a nurse practitioner, nurse anesthetist. Once a nurse, you are always a nurse. If you're a teacher, God bless them. But anyways, I just feel like nurses rock. And I will always stick up for them, and I will always defend them, and I will always be team nurse. So anyways, I digress so easily. So traditionally, we talked about levothyroxine yesterday. So levothyroxine and Synthroid are both synthetic medications. So it's a T4 supplementation. So, basically that's what everyone was on back in the day. That's what you took. And you'll see that most commonly now, too. It's cheaper. And, the way of thinking was that you just needed T4. So I do find that trend is changing. And I feel like more people are starting to get on the T3 train. So I would say that some of the older school physicians and endocrinologists still don't believe in T3. Sometimes you have a really hard time finding somebody that will prescribe you T3 replacement. I was lucky enough to be introduced to a physician and a nurse practitioner that were very open and educated and willing to work with me along with their other patients, knowing that T3 is needed, in my opinion. So levothyroxine is basically a synthetic medication. So the other medication is Armour. And so that is a T3 and T4 supplementation. So in the past, Armour had kind of gotten a bad rap because they had quality control issues, and they, like I mentioned yesterday, sometimes you weren't getting the same configuration of medication because the quality wasn't there. They weren't being regulated. So I feel like Armour had a bad rap, and for many years, physicians just weren't prescribing it for that reason. I tried Armour, and they say that the quality control issues are resolved, but in my personal opinion, in my own experience, I did find that I had a problem with Armour Thyroid from month to month. I felt like it was just too touchy, like touch and go. You didn't really know what you were getting, so I just didn't respond well to it, so it didn't work. There's also a medication called Cytomel, which is just T3 only. So I actually tried levothyroxine and Cytomel, which is a T4 and a T3. But again, they're both synthetic. So guess what? It didn't work for me. It's synthetic. I don't do well with fake or synthetic or artificial. I just don't do well. My body does not like it. So I stopped taking that. And I went the route of Armour for quite a while, and then I went the route of WP Thyroid after just, can we just try something different? And the WP Thyroid, as I mentioned, is a T3 and T4. And some people say that it has T1 and T2 in it too. So it's like a mimic of a thyroid because it's actually made from animal product. It's animal organs. It's what it's derived from. So, again, religious reasons or ethnic reasons, they may not choose to take that medication, but in my experience, it's the best one I've had so far. So there were studies, in the past saying that, there was no benefit from a T3 medication, but those actual studies, I don't really want to kind of get into this whole bad-mouthing pharmaceutical companies, but those studies were done by pharmaceutical companies. So, it's kind of biased. So you got to kind of look, when you're doing your research, you got to kind of look at where your research is coming from. And so let's see here. One fun fact that I want to share with you guys is that, did you know that you need zinc to convert your T4 to T3? And most Hashimoto's patients are zinc deficient. So I actually take a zinc supplement every day. I actually take a few supplements every day that I won't talk about now, but I do take zinc as one of them that I take on a regular basis. And let's see here. So, also reasons that you might have difficulty converting your T4 to T3 would include under stress. So let's see. Some of the labs that I mentioned that you should get tested, which is TSH, free T3, free T4, and reverse T3. Reverse T3 does not get done very often, but one of the reasons you would want to get that test done is because oftentimes people who are under a huge amount of stress, they're converting their T4 into reverse T3, which ultimately it's like just taking up space. It does nothing for you hormonally, and it's not reaching the right receptors. So that's why if you are under a lot of stress, it's probably more beneficial for you to take a T3 and T4 supplement together. So that way, if your body is not converting the T4 adequately to the T3, because it's going to the reverse T3, that you will still have that replacement of T3 in your body. So make you feel better. There's also a lot of different stressors in your life that can... in medications that can cause you to not to convert to your thyroid hormones properly. And so some of those would be alcohol, drugs, chemotherapy, radiation, soy products, things like that. And so I tend to eat pretty healthy, and I've actually learned that over the years because I learned it by... just not feeling good. And I would read a lot of books, and they'd say, these certain things you should try cutting out: gluten, soy, anything artificial, and just see how you feel. And I would have to say that, people probably look at me. My husband calls me a food snob, And he says, oh, not everyone can be perfect. But I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to live a energetic life and be healthy for me. So, trying to think. Oh, yeah, cigarettes, iodine excess, obesity, just aging in general, stress, and alcohol. So those are some of the things that can really affect your transition to T4 to T3. So basically, some of the medications, like I mentioned, is the levothyroxine and Thyroid, which are basically the same thing. So those would be the synthetics. Then you have your Cytomel, which is T3, synthetic. And then your Armour, Thyroid, Nature Thyroid, and WP Thyroid, which are more natural. So I guess from this takeaway for today, I would just like everyone to know that if you are on one of these synthetic medications, i.e. levothyroxine or Thyroid, I would say, reach out and talk to your doctor to see if there is any way that you could be a candidate for a more natural supplement. So I just feel like, not everyone knows about this because they just kind of trust their physicians and they just kind of go with what they're told. And endocrinology is a tricky subject, the layman person, a lot of times they're spoken to about their labs and they have no clue what they mean. I mean, even some of us medical people, and me too, it's like way over my head half the time, some of the stuff that people tell me. But again, it's like knowledge is power, so you just got to keep reading stuff, you got to keep educating yourself. I belong to a couple of groups on Facebook where I am constantly like asking questions and reading and just becoming more updated on all the information that's available out there. So I think I touched upon everything I wanted to today. I'm sorry, this video is kind of boring. It's kind of boring, sorry. I don't know, I think it reflects my mood today. I'm like kind of like blah. I ran this morning and I'm feeling kind of tired, and so I just feel kind of blah. Sorry, but anyways, I just wanted to come on and just give you guys a quick blurb. I will write up a quick write-up, not blob, and talk about what I write about what I just talked about. So if anyone doesn't feel like watching my probably boring and dragging ass video, you can actually just read it. And all right, I'm starting to go off on a little tangent here. And also, say hi to Buddha. That's Buddha back there. That's my husband's nickname, Buddha, because growing up he had like a big belly, so they called him Buddha. And at our wedding, someone gave that to us as a gift, and it's holding a guitar, and it has a necklace that has a D on it for Derek. It has glasses on it like Derek. And that is my running vest. And that is all my floor material still sitting in my living room because I have not had a person come fix my floor in 2 months. So, all right, I'm going to sign off now, guys. So sorry if this video was kind of long and ranting and just annoying. I'll come back with, I don't know, I guess less rambling the next time I come on. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.